What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. We're gonna get this show started here shortly. I had a question on the channel, and it was about deleting their after treatment system for a Volvo, and they were concerned about if it would damage it because it was an automated system, had an automated transmission on it. Hope you guys enjoy the content. I've been sitting out. We got some more info about those automated systems. I know some of them have been getting some problems. So I want to discuss. Let me turn this mic down a little bit. I want to discuss. Let me know where you guys are watching from. We're going to get this show started here shortly. A couple of things I'm going to be talking about, so you guys can hear me. Hope you guys are doing well. I was reading some information about a lot of these vendors, or a lot of these retailers are starting to front load, avoiding. There's a few things in that are they're trying to avoid. One is a labor strike, another labor strike, and the others are expected tariffs coming up. Let me know where you guys are all watching from. So anyway, those expected tariffs and labor strikes is what they're trying to front load everything on. So it's creating a surge. So the imports are up. When imports are up, that means that you guys are getting some better rates out there. So hopefully you guys are seeing that materialize. So we're going to be discussing a few things today. As I mentioned, I had the viewer make the comment that we're concerned about doing a hack delete on a Volvo D13. So I want to share some information on that. I want to share also some information on your after treatment systems, most common issues. I'm going to talk about troubleshooting, what you can do to troubleshoot them, what you can do to maintain them on your own before actually having to go to a shop. So this broadcast is going to be packed with a lot of information, so be ready. We're going to get started here shortly. Let me know where you're watching from. If you have any issues or concerns, chat's going to be live the entire time. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe so you're notified when these lives go up. And as I mentioned, if you got any questions about your truck, hit us up in the chat. It's going to go, it's live. So let's get this show started. I hope everyone's safe out there. Go to the share screen here. How you guys doing? If this is the first time you've joined me, I'm Adam with TAT Express. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, ASE certified in diesel technician, heavy duty, light duty. We have over 2 decades of experience in the industry. Been serving trucks since 2000, and long before the after treatment system. So we were able to adopt and learn all these different techniques that I'm about to share with you guys, and these tips and tricks, as I mentioned. And it's gonna be a lot of do-it-yourself stuff. I know you guys are probably doing this already, so let's get this show started. If you are looking to get service in the DFW area, give us a shout. We're after treatment specialists. We're specialists on diesel engines, semi trucks, medium, heavy duty, anything you're looking for on diesel trucks, we can help you out. We are running a promotion. We have a 10% discount using code TAT20 to the end of December 2024. Kevin, what's up? San Antonio's in the house. How's that audio sound? Let me know if I need to adjust anything. Sounds a little high, but all right, let's get the volume does here. Let me adjust this here. Okay, well, let's get started today's show. So as I mentioned, I had a comment in the channel, and they were concerned about deleting their after treatment system, and as you know, we're against deleting after treatment systems. So I wanted to share why it's an automated system, Volvo D13, but this is similar to all platforms. So if you guys have any issues with your truck, or some of these issues, like as I mentioned, some of these deletes will work for you, some of them will not, but they're all hack deletes. So the first thing So deleting the DPF can affect automated transmissions on Volvo D13s as well as other systems on semi trucks. Okay, the transmission control module, which is the TCM, interacts with the ECM, with the truck's ECM. The automated transmission, such as the I-shift on a Volvo D13, relies on consistent communication with the ECM for proper operation. Deleting the DPF involves alternating or bypassing the ECM's programming. This can lead to improper shift timing. The transmission relies on engine torque data to determine the optimal shift points. Alternated ECM parameters can disrupt these synchronization. So when you're doing these types of deletes and causing more power, it could possibly throw the ECM and TCM off when they're trying to communicate with each other. You also can experience fault codes or derates. Modifying emission systems can trigger fault codes that may affect the transmission's performance or cause it to go into a limp mode. So this is whenever you're risking those types of eliminations, these are the precautions that you got to keep in mind if you're trying to do these types of hack deletes out there. I know the topic's going to be common problems. Later on, I'm going to show you what you can do to avoid trying to do these types of. We're going to talk about common problems. So the other things that can affect deletions on Volvo D13s is deleting the DPF can increase engine power and torque, as I mentioned, depending on how the ECM is tuned post deletion. While this may seem like a benefit, these are the things that it can happen afterwards. Exceed transmission's design limits. Automated transmissions are calibrated for specific power outputs. Increased torque can cause premature wear on clutches, gears, and bearings. So when I always talk about staying stock, this is why it's important to stay stock. Anytime you try to start modding stuff out, you're putting everything that is not designed to, you're pushing all these different designs out of their limits, everything out of their limits, including the transmission. This leads to erratic shifting. The transmission may struggle to adjust to sudden changes in torque output, resulting in rough or delayed shifts. Okay, this is also another thing that puts a strain on the engine with a hack delete is for automated systems as well. Automated transmissions rely on proper cooling, and deleting the DPF can increase exhaust gas temperature or stress the engine's cooling system. This can indirectly affect the transmission. I know whenever you guys, when we really look at an after treatment system, and when we talk about eliminating the system, and you're right away thinking there's going to be faster flow of exhaust coming out of that engine. But what you're not thinking about is when that happens, temperatures do rise. Exhaust temperatures get really hot when you start creating all that type of power or increased power, and that puts stress on the cooling system. This will overall increasingly overall system heat, leading to overheating to both the engine or transmission. So if you do have a delete and you're running higher horsepower, let me know if you guys notice any different on your temperature. If you're actually running lower temperature, share that in the comments. And as I mentioned, these are all, I always say this in my other videos, is there's quality control when it comes to these types of modifications. So that's why it's kind of concern for us is after these modifications that are not quality control end up being taken in place, or later on it's going to be low power, with this hotter temperature that's happening in the combustion chamber. You have issues with scuff liners. You also have issues with bent valves on your head. So this is just another thing that's going to end up causing more strain to the engine, is to the cooling system. So compromising the longevity of the transmission components, because the transmission does rely on coolant. So we all talked about regulatory warnings and stuff like that with DPF deletions. So those are just issues that when I had that question pop up about, hey, I'm looking to eliminate my system, and they were concerned about something popping up with their D13. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. So I want to talk about maintenance and regular problems that we come across with these after treatment systems. So, but I just wanted to share what the comment came in, and I wanted to share that information because it was really interesting, especially with automated systems. So we're going to be talking about regular after treatment system maintenance. Okay, inspect and clean sensors. This is very important. All right, what you want to do is you want to inspect and clean the DPF pressure and temperature sensors regularly. These sensors help monitor the DPF's condition and operation. This is a really good tip, because a lot of times whenever you have a DPF filter issue or a check engine light caused by after treatment system, it's possible you could have a faulty sensor and triggering these. So getting these sensors cleaned out regularly is very important. By the time we get these sensors, or by the time we have issues with these sensors, most of the time they're so corroded onto the one box that they're getting stripped out and they're not even reusable. So regularly inspecting these sensors is a really good idea. And this is why, because faulty or dirty sensors can trigger false readings, as I mentioned, leading to unnecessary regenerations or faults in the system. So if you have a faulty pressure sensor, or any sensor that's going reading incorrectly on your after treatment system, causing it to regen more frequently than it needs to, you're going to overheat that filter and shorten the life of it. So it's very important to do that. Next I'm going to talk about forced regens. All right, use a diagnostic to initiate a forced regen if the truck doesn't do it on its own, if soot levels are high and the truck is unable to complete a passive or active regeneration. So if you're driving the truck in short trips and not on long trips, like hour long, more than an hour long on the highway, it's not going to have an active regeneration. So what's going to happen is it's going to start triggering you to do a regen. And some drivers either they either don't do the regen, or that maybe the system not working correctly. So you can run a regen if soot levels are high. Now, I do advise, if you do use a diagnostic tool to do forced regens, make sure to do it whenever the filter actually is at a level where it's recommended to do the actual regen. Don't just force regen it just to force regen it, because what you're going to end up doing is just excessive regen. Of course, when a regeneration happens, it increases the horsepower of the engine, or the RPMs of the engine. And behind the turbo, there's an injector with all it's doing is just squirting out diesel right after the exhaust at a high RPM, creates very high temperatures. So what that does is, what it's made to do is bake off that particular matter that gets built up in the DPF filter. So if you excessively do passive regen, or you're excessively doing active regens, you could potentially burn the filter up, cause it to fail earlier than it should. So be careful with that. So, but it's very important, once you do have soot build up, you want to do a park regen, get that done. So when you allow the soot to build up without burning it off, it can clog the DPF and lead to performance issues. So that's very common. What we see if we have a truck that's not operating in normal or optimal ranges, it starts getting soot build up, and then that's where we really start having some problems. So another item you want to check out is the DEF system. You want to inspect the DEF levels, okay, the injector spray pattern, and system components like the pump lines, and for leaks or blockages. So anytime you have leaks or blockages and DEF is not going to the spraying correctly into the SCR system, it will not convert NOx, okay, the last step of the after treatment system. So be sure to replace the filter and check these items. If you're getting the PM done and you want to make sure everything's running correctly, these are all systems that you can check, items that you can check when you're doing your oil changes. Discuss here is here, let me move this over. I wanted to go with, got a different background here. Let me change something up here. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. That one. There it is. Boom. Toronto, Canada's in the house. Okay, so we're gonna keep moving along to the next item. I got some more of a graphic background for you guys. Ohio's in the house. What's up, Nick? All right. So we talked about inspecting the DEF. I'm going to talk about tools that you can use as well. So be sure to stay tuned in. Okay. Inspect the DEF levels, injector spray patterns, and system components like the pump and lines, as I mentioned. A faulty DEF system can trigger derates and fault codes that can impact both engine and transmission performance. So you think about if you have a derate and it's just due to a leak in DEF line, and you decide to do a modification that is not reversible or is very expensive to reverse, and it could just be a DEF line. So preventive maintenance, monitor your fuel quality. High quality diesel fuel with low sulfur content, and add fuel additives if recommended by manufacturers. We had a viewer share in the chat that they were using something from Pittsburgh that was working well for them. Shout out to chat whenever they were sharing that. Right, I think it was still on back order though. If you use poor quality fuel, this increases soot production, which can overwhelm the DPF and load and lead to frequent regens. Okay, limit idle time. Avoid excessive idling whenever possible. If idling is necessary, use idle reduction systems like APUs. Idling generates soot without high exhaust temperatures needed for passive regen. All right, we also want to service the EGR. Inspect and clean the EGR valve at regular intervals. A malfunctioning EGR valve can cause excessive soot and strain the aftertreatment system. Diagnostic steps. We're going to talk about some diagnostic steps. This is going to be specific to Volvos, but if you got any questions about aftertreatment systems on your truck and you want to share it, and if it's not a Volvo, but a lot of these troubleshooting steps are going to be similar. As I mentioned in a lot of my videos, is these systems are basically all going to one boxes. So shout out to everyone that's joined us today. Let me turn the mic down a little bit. Sounds a little high. Test. Shout out to everyone that's joined us today. Let me know what you think about this afternoon broadcast. The next step we're going to be talking about is diagnosing steps for the aftertreatment system. All right, this one's packed with a lot of information as well. So we're going to be scanning for fault codes. You can use Diagnostics tools to read and interpret fault codes from the engine's ECU. Common codes related to DPF problems include SPN 3719, which is high soot load in the DPF. There's another code is SPN 3251, which is DEF quality issue. Also, there's a SPN 3364, which is an EGR flow rate problem. First, you want to inspect for visual signs of clogging. Remove the DPF and visually inspect for signs of excessive soot or ash buildup. Now, you want to do your force regens first, and if the code persists, this is what you're going to end up doing. You can also test the DPF back pressure. Now, there's different diagnostic tools you can use. This one's pretty interesting. It's a manometer, which is just all it does is just measure pressure. And let me pull one up for you. So you can get one of these, and we use the softwares, the OEM softwares, because the OEM software is just going to give us the reading through the sensor. But if we are having a faulty reading from the back pressure of the DPF, and that's when it gets backed up with particulate matter, and that's when it's time to regen. So when we do get a reading of a clogged filter, we usually just use the OEM software to monitor the pressure. But what you can do is you do it physically as well, bypassing the sensors. Now let me pull this up for you here. The truck idle. So this is what this looks like, and all it does is just measure the pressure between two different inputs. So what this is going to do, when you connect a manometer, and you use it to diagnose, to check the back pressure across the DPF. So if this back pressure indicates clogging like it's high, so what you'll do is an after treatment system will have a tube and an input and an output tube. So these two tubes are basically just measuring the pressure of what's going in and what's going out. So when a filter starts to get clogged from particulate matter, the pressure going in the filter is going to be higher than what's coming out. There is a tolerance, but if you notice a high difference in them, then one thing you're going to do is inspect the tubes and make sure they're not clogged up, because you can get clogged up tubes or testing ports. Any port, there's different designs before it all goes to the one box. So you want to test those ports to ensure they're not built up with soot, because that soot buildup is definitely going to give you a false reading. So turbo, and the next thing, so if you can get one of these, if you don't have the right, but honestly, OEM software is going to be the best diagnostic tools, because you're not going to have to take anything apart. If you do suspect a false reading on a sensor, then definitely look into testing that. If you guys are in the DFW area and you're looking for a DPF specialist, give us a shout, 972-225-3017. We offer fleet service, so guys, give us a shout. We'll be more than happy to help you. So we're talking about the back pressure in a DPF. If you're looking to get a manometer on your own, this is what they look like. This is what they look like here, and you're just testing the pressure across the back pressure across the DPF. Now, examine turbochargers and exhaust components as well. Inspect the turbocharger and exhaust manifold for leaks or soot buildup, as this can disrupt the after treatment system. A lot of times when we do troubleshoot that, and we're going to go through more troubleshooting steps for after treatment systems more into this broadcast. Appreciate everyone that's joined us. Glad everyone's starting to comment in. So inspecting these items, and if you see any kind of exhaust manifold leaks or boost leaks, we share a lot of videos on the boost leaks. If you have any issues with that, this is definitely going to disrupt the after treatment system and cause you to have errors, and this is very common. Boost leaks will cause problems, exhaust leaks will cause problems. So be sure that none of those are happening, so you don't disrupt the after treatment system's efficiency. So when to replace components is the next thing I'd like to discuss. DPF replacements. Okay, replace a DPF at the manufacturer's recommended intervals. This is going to be typically around 200. 200 is kind of low. I would say 300 to 400,000 miles. Or when cleaning no longer resolves clogging issues. Now, when it says or, I wouldn't even try. If you would like to get it cleaned the first time to save money, even though Detroit does not approve that, I still see it it's being used a lot. But if you have that back pressure still not zeroed all the way out like it should be, and that's what a replacement filter off the shelf will do for you, then you might not be guaranteed to hit that next 300 to 400,000 miles. So this is gonna be a cleaning interval, so you don't want to have to do this more frequently than you have to. So expecting it around 300 or 400,000 miles. I know that we have a lot of trucks that come into the shop, and a lot of times this is overlooked. They're not replaced or they're not cleaned properly, and they continue to have problems with the after treatment systems. But and the core problem is just not replacing this filter, just like you replace other filters on the engine, air filters, fuel filters, oil filters. This is another filter. This is actually more crucial than a lot of filters, because once this starts getting clogged up, definitely start having a problem. Another item you want to check out is your DEF filter. You want to make sure to replace that as well. Some of our DPF filters are every 200,000 miles. Some of them are every 100,000 miles. Make sure to check your owner manual. The DEF injector should be tested properly for spray patterns and replaced if clogged. So if you're doing a PM, ask if you can do a after treatment performance test. These are items that need to get checked out. If they haven't been checked out every 200,000 miles, get this stuff checked out. Doing it all at once would be a really good practice, so that you can ensure that you're not getting those unexpected check engine lights. And so SCR system as well, you want to inspect and replace it if the system starts getting bad and it's not converting. If you have the proper troubleshooting procedures, and you're dealing with a shop that's familiar with after treatment systems, and they condemn your one box, that's something that's going to need to be replaced. Okay, so but make sure that it's troubleshot correctly, because we do see a lot of guys suggesting a one box replacement, but once we check it out on our own, it could just be a filter item like that. So appreciate everyone that's joined us. Yeah, I'm trying to get you okay, if you watch it on the flip side, it's your first time watching the live. Yeah, if you watch it on a playback, either way, we got some more information. I mean, if you cannot get all this done on your own, I'm going to share some more troubleshooting steps. But at the end, I mean, if you don't have the experience to get it done, and you're still experiencing issues after performing some of these steps that I'm sharing with you guys, consider working with an after treatment specialist. You know, at TAT Express, we have all the access, we have all the experience. As I mentioned, we've been doing this before after treatment systems were put in place. So guys, eliminating these systems and modding them out is not your only solution. We're going to be talking more what you can do on your own. So if you are experiencing some, give us a shout. We have advanced diagnostic tools and recommended solutions that I'm sharing with you today to help you keep this after treatment system running smoothly. So the next thing I want to talk about is tools. We're going to talk about specific tools and troubleshooting steps on how to troubleshoot these after treatment systems. So that's going to be the next section we're going to be moving into. If you guys want to share your experience, if you're doing something with your after treatment system or using some kind of additive that's working out for you, let me know in the comment section. We still got chat live. I know everyone's probably out there working right now. Wanted to get this broadcast done in the afternoon, because in the evening it gets kind of tiring in the evening. So we're going to be moving on to the next section, which is tools. This is some good info I want to share with you guys. These tools that you're going to be using and these techniques should help you out, guys. Especially if you work on these after treatment systems. Is that something that you do? This next section is for you here. All right, so let's keep on moving to the next section. We're going to be talking about tools. Let me know what type of tools you guys are using. I know when I discussed scanners earlier, and I talked about those, I know you got a lot of you guys are using different scanners. So let me know what's working out for you. But we're going to be talking about what we use, and let me know what you guys are using. I know everyone is using the handhelds that are doing the regens for you. So diagnostic tools that you have. Okay, so Volvo Premium Tech Tool, or short PTT. Now this is the official diagnostic tool for Volvo. Okay, it can read and clear faults, perform force regens, and calibrate components like EGR valves or TCUs. So this is a really advanced, but it's really useful. I mean, if you're doing transmission calibration, as I mentioned, if you have issues with replacing parts, if you're replacing a part on a Volvo, you have to reset the parameters. The Volvo is programmed to read and save the calibrated readings of each sensor. So over time, what it'll do, if you do replace the sensor, it's gonna still have the memory of the old sensor. So you do have to reset sensors. You won't be able to do that with a handheld, but if you're just looking at your soot level being able to do a regen, then yes, those are real solid handhelds that will definitely help you out. Now, Volvo's really good. The PTT, it ensures compatibility is why we use it. Volvo's, I mean, it's their system, and it provides detailed diagnostics and insight. This is why we use them. Sometimes it could be a little slow, but it's really in depth. It's really good and in depth. Some of these systems that are like third party, as I mentioned, are aftermarket troubleshooting, will not have all the tests that you can do with PTT. And what they'll do is actually just copy those programs. PTT, they'll look at those programs, or they'll get a license themselves, and they'll look at it, and they'll just figure out how they can get it to work. So a lot of the stuff is not made by the manufacturer. So that's why we like to use PTT. The customer care is not the greatest, but you got to understand they're dealing with a lot of different licenses. But the information is there. It's really in depth. The next type of tool you're going to need is a multimeter. Now, multimeters are, I mean, we've seen them before, but we'll go ahead and pick up a multimeter now. Now, if you are interested in doing this type of troubleshooting, these are the type of tools you're going to end up getting. Okay. Now, the multimeters are going to be used to test these circuits. Now, we talked about the sensors earlier, and we talked about cleaning them, but we didn't talk about the wiring. Now, these harnesses that run, the harnesses that run on the after-treatment system, you are still going through the regen process. So when they go through that, as I mentioned earlier, and the temperature is risen very high, that high temperature is going to corrode those wires over time and can cause some erratic sensor readings. So you also want it. So what you would do with a multimeter is you're going to be checking for voltage, you're going to be checking for continuity and resistance in the sensor or electrical connectors. So a multimeter is really useful when it comes to troubleshooting electrical sensors or any kind of harnesses. This helps you verify if a sensor, connector, or wiring is malfunction. You're not able to see the wire completely. They're going to be shielded. They're going to be ran all in the truck, like you just snaked all through the truck. So using a schematic and using a multimeter like this is very useful. You have these prongs here, and you'll be able to just test different circuits without having to really tear down a lot. So this is a very useful tool if you're looking into that. Now, we talked about a manometer here. Now, if you're dealing with wanting to check the back pressure, now you can use these manometers as well for checking high crankcase pressure. These are really good. These are really good tools. We use them as well. Now, this one in particular measures back pressure, or you would use it on an after treatment system to measure back pressure in the DPF and exhaust system. Now, the indifferences and restrictions or clogs in the DPF or exhaust system will cause your system to malfunction. So if this is a pretty solid tool, if you want to see how accurate your sensors are, if you don't have the correct PTT software. I don't know what kind of scanners are out there. I know that there's different ones, but do they give you the back pressure readings as well? Let me know in the comments. Another useful tool is let me pull this one up here. Another useful tool is going to be a infrared thermometer, thermometer. So these are cool. We use these as well all over the shop. We use it for everything. So you would use this in a after treatment system for checking for exhaust temperatures at various points in the system, especially during regen. So you just kind of want to make sure everything's uniform and nothing's spiking, nothing's way out of the ordinary. This confirms that the DPF is reaching the required temperatures and proper soot burn off. So once you have a system that's built up with enough particulate matter, then it needs, or soot is going to need to be regen. So when that happens, as I mentioned, the temperature rises very high. So this tool would be used just to check those temperatures. The next tool is pretty cool. We use it often as well, part of our troubleshooting procedures and ensuring that your system is working correctly. If you don't want to buy all these tools, give us a shout, 972-225-3017. We have everything that's needed. We are after treatment specialists, so you don't have to buy all these tools if you're not looking for them. But a refractor meter is the next item I want to talk about here. This is a DEF refractor meter. So there's a lot of different refractor meters. Let's come over here. Boom, refractor meter. This is a refractor meter. All it's gonna do is just check your DEF. So all it's gonna do is check your DEF. You've seen these before. Very useful. Refractor meter is going to be used, and what you're looking for is you want to ensure that your DEF quality is good. It's want to be 32.5% Ura solution. So you'll see a line, and you want to make sure that your solution is good. If you guys are buying it in bulk and it's questionable, then you could check it with the DEF refractor meter. So very useful. We use it all the time. We're very surprised on how much we use it. This is just ensures that your DEF is in good quality, because in some cases you can get some bad DEF. So there are some diagnostic software alternatives. Now the alternatives, there's one listed here as JPro. When I mentioned earlier, or Texa, these types of third-party software or aftermarket software, the only thing that my only concerns about those is that they will have to get a license as well. So they're just rewriting the programs whenever you can have all the program or the exact program from the manufacturer with unlimited access with what you need when it comes to troubleshooting. So this is kind of why the JPros or the other items, they're not really up to date. And then if you have a Volvo, some of these trucks come with Cummins, so you would need Insight. A lot of this information that I'm sharing is mostly over a Volvo D13, but it's very similar if you have an after treatment system on your semi truck. So keep all this in mind. So next I want to talk about step-by-step troubleshooting process when you're dealing with the after treatment system. In particular, we're going to be talking about the Volvo. All right, so once you check for the codes, what do you want to do? All right, you want to check the codes with the diagnostic tool, whatever you're using. Scan the ECM. When you scan the ECM, these are for the faults that are related to after treatment system. That's what we're looking for. You want to look for specific codes. There's specific codes like SPN 3719 FMI 16, that's high soot load detected, or SPN 3251, that's FMI 2. DEF quality issues. This is what a refractor meter would be used for. Ensure that, and you want to make sure that you're getting the right amount with no hoses or anything like that leaking, or any clogs on the injector of the DEF. Another code you want to look out for is a SPN 3364 FMI 7. That's EGR flow rate inefficient. EGR has a differential pressure sensor as well. That's what reads that EGR flow rate. So making sure that sensor is not clogged up, just like all the other sensors that are exposed to soot, is a good idea. Anytime you have any buildup on those differential pressure sensors, will give you an EGR code, or will cause your EGR valve to open erratically, not when it's supposed to, and it definitely causes you some problems. So when you have the code, you want to follow the troubleshooting steps provided by the tools and refer to the fault code guide. There's different fault code guides. You want to make sure that you're not skipping troubleshooting steps, because everything really goes in a row. And a lot of times when we actually add troubleshooting steps, and for example, we like to check to the maintenance history, because if there's a lot of built up maintenance, this will definitely cause us to have some after treatment problems, and it just kind of like a domino effect. It will, if you have an engine that's building excessive soot and it's clogging up all your sensors, whether it's your differential pressure sensor on your EGR, your intake sensor, these all sensors that are exposed to exhaust can build up if the engine's not running correctly. So if maintenance not being kept up, fuel filters, air filters, overhead valve adjustments are not being kept up, the engine can produce excessive soot buildup, and just kind of start building up all this, building up everything on your sensors and all that. Catch us on the playback, but I appreciate you joining us. If you guys are watching this on the playback and you wanna add into, or you wanna comment below, hit us up below. If you're in the DFW area and you're looking for a shop, we can take care of you. TAT Express, 972-225-3017. Give us a shout. We have all up-to-date equipment. We'll be able to take care of you fast. Okay, so let's keep on moving. The next thing you want to do is a DPF pressure test. Now, the manometer here is used to measure the pressure before and after the DPF. Compare the readings to manufacturer specification. If back pressure is too high, the DPF may need cleaning or replacement. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're around the 300,000 mile to 400,000 mile mark, definitely consider replacing it so that you can get another 300, 400,000 miles. Not all the time the cleaning is going to get it cleaned perfectly. As I mentioned multiple times, Detroit doesn't actually has that, is not allow that as an approved. So if you have issues, you can avoid warranties and issues like that. So inspect the EGR system is another item you want to do. Now, what you want to check for is you want to check for soot buildup in the EGR valve and cooler. Verify the EGR actuator is opening correctly using diagnostic tools like PTT, or any OEM software will allow you to manually open and close. Now, it's very tough because sometimes these EGR valves can throw you some codes. It can be the wiring harness. Say, for example, when I mention checking using a manometer or a multimeter, when you're using a multimeter to check the wiring harness on the system, not all the time will the wiring harness give you, or your reading will be 100%, because sometimes you got to take in factor the age of the truck. Because if you have a high mileage truck, you can have intermittent electrical faults, which is very tricky, which is issues in the wiring harness that are not showing as you measure the resistance in the shop. But if it's going down the road and items like that, and they're shifting like that, and you do want to wiggle the wires and stuff like that when you are testing the system, but not all the time you're going to be able to mimic on the road items. So that's really important. So let's keep on moving. EGR, because the reason why I say that as well, because I remember with the 60 series, you always had to replace anything that had to do with the after-treatment system. V-pods is what they had back then. The V-pod was their attempt to create a VGC style turbo that was using an air actuator, and the harness was a jumper harness that plugged into the ECU, and over time that harness would go bad. So definitely have that. We are crypto. We do give us a shout, man. We do. So the next item I want to talk about here is the DEF system. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to EGR valve in the cooler. Now, the cooler is definitely something that's overlooked a lot. We see these coolers get neglected, and they build up with a lot of soot. Now, what an EGR cooler does, once the EGR valve opens and it directs the exhaust gases, it goes through the EGR cooler to cool it off before going into being recycled back into the intake. Now, if you have a blockage or anything going on with that cooler, it's gonna cause even more soot in the engine because it's disrupting air fuel flow. And that mixture needs to be right on point. If it's not on point, then you're definitely going to have some excessive soot. The engine's going to create excessive soot, and the problems are just going to cascade. So appreciate everyone that's joined us. I know everyone's out there working. Play this on you can guys catch this video on the playback. Some guys out there driving. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. If you got something going on with your truck that's not related to today's topic, let me know in the chat and I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. Got a few more things I want to cover before we wrap this up. Let me see what else we got here. Appreciate everyone that's joined us, everyone that's been commenting on the videos. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know if you guys got any ideas of what you want us to cover on some videos. If you guys looking for service, give us a shout. 972-225-3017. We're located in the heart of Dallas, heart of Texas. Excuse me, heart of Texas. We're actually south of Dallas, so you don't have to go into the city. It's very truck accessible. You don't have to get into that traffic. You can stay south of 20. Stay on 20. Give us a shout if you're looking for some service. We're running a discount, 10% off. TAT, you got to say TAT 20, get 10% off. So getting the EGR cleaned is very important as well. You want to get that done. 300,000 miles, no matter, even if it's not a Volvo. Testing the DEF system. You want to inspect the DEF injector for blockage or crystallization. This is very common. A lot of the DEF gets crystallized on the injector and it doesn't inject correctly on the DEF injector, and that creates blockages. You want to use diagnostic tools to perform SCR efficiency tests. Now this is where OEM comes into play, OEM software, because whenever we run efficiency tests, you're reading the input and output of the NOx. So just kind of very accurate readings is what you need on that. And if you don't have accurate readings, where you have erratic connections, stuff like that, definitely would derate the system. And it could be an easy fix. It could be an NOx sensor, or it could be a harness. So trying to do a hack delete just because of a sensor is very risky. So you want to check your DEF quality using the refractor meter that I mentioned. These are all do-it-yourself items. Common fixes with DEF systems is replace the DEF that does not meet standards. Clean and replace DEF injector and service DEF pump. Be sure you replace that filter regularly on your DEF. 150,000 miles, I wouldn't go over that. Definitely replace that so you don't have DEF delivery problems. You want to monitor exhaust temperatures during regens. During an active regen or forced regeneration, monitor exhaust gas temperatures at the inlet and outlet of the DPF using diagnostic tool and thermal cameras. So you want to make sure you're not overheating it and it is getting up to temperature. The DPF needs to reach at least 600 degrees to efficiently burn off soot. So that's pretty high. That's what you would be looking for when you're using your infrared here. You want to make sure that filter is reaching up to 600,000 or 600 degrees. Be careful, guys. I was just thinking about that. If you do have to take a Fahrenheit to check that out, be careful not to burn yourself. 600 degrees is very hot. That's going to melt your skin as soon as you touch it. Now, common fixes if the temperatures are too low is you want to check for the turbocharger for leaks. You want to make sure you don't have any boost leaks, or you have some inefficient fuel delivery during the regen. So if you got fuel filters that haven't been replaced in a long time, this can also cause those types of problems. There are some different things you can look for when it comes to software updates for the ECM and TCU. If they're out of date, then that can also give you some problems, but that's where the OEM software really comes into play, because the OEM software is where you're going to be able to do the updates, not only just on the TCU, but you're also going to be able to do updates on the ECM and check for any of those. So recalibration or anything, as I mentioned before, not all these scanners are going to allow you to recalibrate whatever part you have to replace. whether it's an injector or one of these differential pressure sensors, it will need to be recalibrated and reset. And that's what's really important about using OEM software. Outdated or improper calibration software can cause miscommunication between the engine and after-treatment system. This would also be if you replaced a sensor and it wasn't recalibrated. A good preventive maintenance schedule is very important. Okay, now we're going to talk about the daily things you can do. We're going to talk about what you can do every 15,000 miles to 25,000 miles, every 100,000 miles, and we're going to discuss a little bit manufacturer specific miles, specific intervals. So here we go. You want to drain the truck's air tank to remove moisture that can contaminate the air system. I mention that very often, so do that. You want to visually inspect the DEF levels and check for any leaks or crystallization near the DEF tank or lines. If you have access to where the injector is on the after treatment system and you can see a lot of DEF buildup, crystallized buildup around that nozzle, make sure to get that taken off and cleaned. Every 15,000 to 25,000 miles, check. I mean, this is pretty often, but check and top off your DEF levels. Inspect the DPF pressure sensors and temperature sensors for wear or contamination. When you look at them, make sure if they're getting really corroded, you might want to get some WD-40 and get those cleaned up, kind of pull them off and clean them up. Be careful though, because if it's already a high mileage system, then you definitely will have some issues with stripping them, and then you're stuck with it. You're stuck with either a broken sensor. So be careful with that. All right, perform at 100,000 miles or annually. You want to perform a full system diagnostics, including regen tests, DEF system checks, clean and replace the DPF if back pressures exceed limits or ash buildup is significant. Inspect the AGR systems for clogging. So this is a really good tip right here. Doing this once a year. Perform a full system diagnostic, which is including a regen test, DEF system check, clean and replace the DPF if there's back pressure. So very good point right there. Manufacturer specified intervals will be more like, as I mentioned, around 300 to 400,000 miles is when they recommend replacing the DPF filter. Replace the air dryer cartridge to ensure moisture-free air. I would suggest replace the air dryer once a year. This is a big changer, right? Game changer right here. If you stay on top of this air dryer once a year, you don't know how many things run on your air system. So keeping your air system nice and clean is just going to help you later on down the road. You don't know how many air dryers that we've seen cause a lot of problems, especially with automated systems, since they run all off pneumatic controls to shift now, and they depend on pneumatics. They depend on the pneumatics of the system of the air supply of the truck. So if it's dirty, if it's wet, and you have an old dirty cartridge that hasn't been turned off in a long time, or replaced in a long time, definitely can cause a lot of problems. I mean, replacing a dryer is a lot cheaper than replacing a transmission. Avoid prolonged idling, using APUs to reduce soot accumulation during idles. I mean, even my video about automated transmissions, idling disrupts the TCU as well. This is why you have idle shut off on a lot of trucks. Use high quality DEF to ensure it meets the standards of the SCR system. Okay, educate drivers about proper regen practices and the importance of reporting warning lights properly. So when in that particular sentence is basically saying, everything that I've been sharing with you today, if you have a scanner and you're using a scanner, be sure that you're doing regens properly, and you're not ignoring them. So I hope that a lot of this information was useful for you guys. This is kind of a lot of stuff that I wanted to share with you about after treatment systems. I'm going to do probably some more videos on this just to kind of give you more in depth. But I wanted to share this with you today because that comment came in on the channel and they were concerned about issues if they would modify the system. So Hope you guys enjoyed today's show and was able to get some information. If you're in the DFW area and you're looking for service, give us a shout. 972-225-3017. We are running a promotion, 10% off any service until December 2024. Appreciate everyone that joined us this evening. If you're playing this on the replay, let me know in the comments if you got any questions about your after treatment system, and we'll be happy to help you. Let me know what you thought about today's broadcast. Hit us up in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button. Appreciate again everyone that's joined us. Got some more videos coming your way. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below. Thanks again everyone that joined us, and we'll see you next time, guys. You guys be safe.